Me
is
now?
expected to plead not guilty today to criminal charges in the hush money investigation.
Hello, Alex?
He'll be in a Manhattan courthouse.
Nope.
Yes, for
Pastor
some reason,
Thurston, can he hear
I'm gonna
me?
play with some more of the settings. For some reason, he cannot hear you.
Well, I mean, this is not over Facebook. This is, he can't hear me over the radio.
I can just hear the commercials.
Correct.
Not handcuffed and in a range.
Okay, so you're working on that?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay, thank you.
And calls out the judge and DA. Trump is facing multiple charges of falsifying business records, including at least one felony offense in connection with hush money payments made on his behalf to
Not a problem.
Daniels.
Okay,
during the
thank
2016
you.
presidential
Have you voted yet?
Trump denies this, and his lawyer says they
Oh, okay, he can't hear me. That's why I'm
at Trump Tower
saying that to
in
him.
Walker, New York.
Millions of Americans could see more dangerous weather today, the AP's Jackie Quinn.
Residents are still trying to grapple with the loss of life and property from tornadoes last week. And now there's a new threat. In Little Rock, Arkansas, Stedman Thomas says he wouldn't want to experience those fierce winds from Friday again.
Yes, can you hear me now? Can you hear me? Yes, he can't hear me yet.
Very same condition.
He cannot hear you. I'm not sure what's going on. Give me 1 second.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Southerly winds could bring new storms to Arkansas, Missouri, and west central.
Been killed in Syria in a drone strike carried out by the American-led coalition. He orchestrated attacks in Europe, says the U.S. UConn wins the NCAA Men's College Basketball Championship.
Testing, testing.
Can you hear me now?
San Diego State.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? I guess not yet.
He cannot hear you.
He can't hear me
One
yet.
second.
Okay.
Closed their U.S. offices ahead of layoff notifications. McDonald's has closed its U.S. offices through Wednesday and told corporate staff to work remotely as it prepares to announce a round of layoffs. In a memo to workers posted on the website thelayoff.com, the Chicago-based burger giant said it wanted to ensure the comfort and confidentiality of their staff during the notification period. The company said the layoffs are intended to make McDonald's faster and more efficient. McDonald's has more
Ms. Jackson, can you say
Yes.
something, please?
I'm sorry. Can you hear me now?
and in company-owned restaurants, and about 70% of
You can't hear me yet.
based
Okay.
outside of the United States.
Hey, just gonna keep talking until you can hear me.
Traffic crashes in
Hey.
Years.
You know, sometimes people change the settings on you. That's so that you know.
On speeding on the rise. I'm Rita Foley.
Because we're not the only ones who use that studio.
This is 8:20 a.m. WCPT
Okay.
Willow Springs and streaming worldwide.
And, hello.
We are
Pastor, can
Chicago's
you hear me?
Progressive Talk, where facts matter.
Okay, not yet. Well,
Now your
we'll
WCPT
work it out.
820 weather update.
If not, you'll just have to guide him in until that's worked out.
Ski. Looks like we'll see a few spotty showers and thunderstorms at times here for today with cloudy sky conditions, a high in the upper 60s. Winds out of the northeast at 10 to 20 miles per hour, gusting as high as 5. Tonight, a slight chance for showers and thunderstorms, cloudy with temperatures holding steady. Wednesday, another chance for showers and storms, cloudy skies, high of 71 degrees. Then on Thursday, sunny, we'll see high of 52. That's your latest Chicago weather update. Currently, it's 45.
Okay.
This is Martin Luther King III. I urge you to get out to vote.
Okay. Hello.
To move Chicago
Can you hear me?
forward.
Can you hear me?
Brandon
Can you hear me?
Johnson, on or before April 4th. Election outcomes matter.
Can you hear me? Can you
When
hear
we
me?
elect leaders who will fight for our communities, we're building a bridge to a better future for us all. That's the kind of leader Brandon Johnson is. He's a dedicated public servant, a family man, and a man of faith. Brandon will invest in the people of Chicago, keep us safe, and hold the power brokers in City Hall accountable to the needs of our communities. We can trust Brandon to deliver. As a teacher, he fought for our kids. And as a county commissioner, he delivered on the issues that matter most. My father, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., said, "A voteless people is a powerless people. Vote for Brandon Johnson on or before April 4th.
Paid for by Friends of Brandon Johnson.
This is Gary Menzel from Roofers and Waterproofers Local 11. I've been asked, what is the difference between a union roofer and a non-union roofer? Both start their day the same way. Get dressed, pack a lunch, drive to work. But that's where the similarities end. A union roofer knows their workplace will be safe. They'll receive a fair living wage. If there's an illness or accident in their family, they can go see the doctor because they have employer-provided health insurance. The non-union roofer may not have any safety protocols at their workplace. Their health insurance, if it is offered to them, is taken out of their paycheck, and their wages will most likely be 20% less than the union roofer. A union represents and negotiates on behalf of their members to ensure fairness, a living wage, family health benefits, and a dignified retirement. And now,
let me do this. Can you hear me, Pastor?
It's time for you to form a union at
Guess
your
not
workplace.
yet. Okay.
Don't settle for less than you deserve.
We'll figure
Say
it
yes to
out.
unions.
This is WCPT 820, where facts matter.
I'm blind.
Hey, hon, I'm having to do a lot of moving around today, so I'm going to bring you on in the first half hour. If you can get the Congresswoman on in the last 30 minutes, that would be great. I can't get your candidate in, but you can speak about her, okay? Because I'm having to wedge a lot of people in. I got a lot of moving parts that happened overnight. Okay, but you can, yeah, but don't push it too much because I don't have her opposition on. Okay? Just
931
say, these are,
or visit
as we look at the
carshelpingtheblind.org.
harassment,
That's
This is what
carshelpingtheblind.org.
we've been
We
dealing
will
with.
arrange to
We've
have
been
the
working with
donated
blah, blah, blah.
vehicle
She
picked
stands for
up
blah,
and
blah, blah.
provide
That's
you
what
with a
you can do.
tax-deductible receipt. And if you know someone who is
Okay,
blind
just
that can use
always
our
know that
help,
with all of
email
these shows, the closer you get to,
nfb.org.
the closer you get to
Donate today.
the election, the tighter
My
it
dad
gets.
served in Vietnam, the 82nd
Okay, so
Airborne
if
Division. He never talked about it.
absolutely, well,
My mom
you
knew
can
not
get it
to
up, you
ask.
get it over here.
So Dad buried
There's
himself
that.
in work.
So what I want you to do
self-medicated. He would
is,
lose his
if
temper
the
sometimes.
Congresswoman can come on, she
Loud
should come
noises
on
would put him on
when
edge.
her colleague,
It got
when
rough.
her colleague
So I
comes
finally
on,
said to him,
which is
Dad,
at 7:30.
you gotta get help.
Just let me know.
As a family member or
Congressman
friend,
Jackson.
you may be the
And I
first to
think
notice when
maybe
a
John
veteran you
Nichols from the
love has
Nation
been going
magazine.
through changes.
He's the
Things
national
like withdrawing,
correspondent. Well,
drinking
I'm
more,
not
or
talking
increased
about you,
anger.
John.
Could be a
I'm not
sign of a
saying
larger health
get out of
concern,
here.
but help is available.
Okay, so let me grab this.
Finally
All right,
went
sweetie.
to VA
Okay, bye-bye.
for one-on-one and group therapy and got some really great tools to help him manage
Okay,
things.
what's going on, hon?
I got my dad back.
Listen to hundreds of inspiring stories at maketheconnection.net and learn how you can support the veterans in your life. Treatment works. Recovery is possible.
Social Security is with you through
no.
life's journey.
No, I can't
Get
hear
to
you on
know
the
us at
timeline.
socialsecurity.gov.
I'm going to try to go to timeline 2.
We are there.
Okay.
Day
Let
one.
me go to
with
timeline 2 also.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Timeline 2, testing timeline 2.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me on timeline 2? No. Can you hear me on timeline 1? You can't hear me
When
on
you marry
timeline
your
1?
sweetheart
Now I can hear
to
the
help secure
station
your
on
new life
timeline 1.
together. If the unexpected happens, to help you see life from a new perspective. We are there when you start your next chapter
I can hear the station
to make
on
sure
timeline
you
1.
get off to a great start. And we are there when you lose your
So
soul
what you need to do is
to help
give
make sure you will be all right.
the pastor a
We are
verbal
with you
cue.
through life's journey.
Testing, testing.
Can you hear me now?
Testing, testing.
Can you? He can't hear me yet.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Testing.
Yeah. Can't hear me yet.
Testing, testing.
Can you hear me now?
Testing, testing.
Okay, you can, but you can't hear me.
Not at all.
Okay. So Alex, you cannot, you all can hear each other, but you can't hear me.
We cannot hear you, no.
Yeah. Let me try. Here.
Sure.
Okay. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yes. Now you can hear you. Great. Now you can hear you. Great.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can the pastor hear me? Can the pastor hear me?
Yes.
Great. All right, everybody. Let's have a great show.
Everybody, let's have a great show.
Heart attack.
We can change the world, change the world, change the world. We can change the world, we can change the world, change the world.
This is the Santita Jackson Show.
You can turn it up just a little bit. Hey everybody, welcome to the Santita Jackson Show. It is April 4th, 2023, Election Day in Chicago and in Wisconsin. Have we gone back out again, Alex? I think we might have. If so, let me go to, I want you all to call me at 773-763-9278, 773-763-WCPT. Okay, we're back up. Getting a lot of craziness. Can you hear me? My board operator, can you hear me?
Yes, you're on tie line 2.
Oh, okay, I'm on tie line 2. All right, let me do that because I didn't hear anything on my tie line 2 is not up. Just so that you know. It's not up.
accountability about it, I think it would always have to be that way. I want you all to look back over your life, and you'll see a pattern. First, look at the decisions that you forced. And ask yourself, how did those really turn out? Then look at times when you just knew what to do without even thinking about it. What happened then? The key to this second kind of decision is waiting for that deep sense of inner knowing. Now, let me warn you, that doesn't mean you're certain that everything will turn out exactly the way you want it or that you don't feel the fear. But then you're thinking, yes, now's the time in your body that I liken to the urge of migratory birds that they get when it's time to leave town. I've noticed that they don't have a meeting, they don't call a vote, they just kind of know when to go. They don't stand around debating, they don't have a calendar, they just know when to go when the time is right. And we're animals too, and we have and can cultivate that inner sensitivity that lets us know what to do when the time is right. But to do it, you've got to unhook your mind. It's reality, Santita. A lot of us overthink things. We think to the point of uselessness. We get in our heads and go over and over various options, trying to predict the future based on our hopes and our fears. A better way is to take stock of what you know, and what you don't know, and then wait. If there's some action that calls to you, even if it's seemingly unrelated to the question at hand, do it. Then wait again for another urge to move. Wait actively rather than passively. And that means to keep your inner senses tuned to urges or intuitions. Expect that the answer will come. Wait with the inner certainty of reaching your goal. Just wait. It's coming.
Amen to that. Amen to that. Amen. 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 You know, you're going to be sticking around with us for a little while so that we can talk about this election. Just off the top of your head, what do you see?
I see if black people and brown people turn out to vote, Brandon Johnson's on the fifth floor.
What are you hearing?
Yeah.
I mean, are people excited, or what are you hearing?
I've been seeing some excitement. I've been traveling around the city to event after event, get out to vote, pack events, and there's energy there. There's a groundswell. And I think people are excited about the potential of a brand new future in the direction that this young man can take the city in. So yeah, it's an exciting time.
Well, you know what? I think that what we have to do, Pastor Thurston, is also let people know this is an unprecedented time, because now people should really, we have to mature in our politics so that we can understand the role that we play. See, it doesn't stop at the election box. It doesn't stop at the polling place. That's where it begins. Now we're going to have to go to the city council meetings. Now we're going to have to show up. We're going to have to call media and say, I want to hear so-and-so. Now we're going to have to say, we're going to have to do. I mean, because I don't think we even understand, even though the corporate media shaped the messaging in this campaign, more and more people have turned their backs on corporate media. They're listening to independent media like us. Pastor Thurston.
That's correct. Yes, they want to get beyond the fake news and the molded messaging and get to the real core, get to the facts, get to the data so that they can be really informed and know how to position themselves on policies, on issues, and make the best decisions that's going to, change their life for the better and those around them. And it's crucial, Santita, that, even after we vote and the decision is made tomorrow and we know who the new mayor is, that we stay actively engaged in the political process. We can't keep having these swells every 4 years. It has to be a consistent, ongoing engagement in the political process.
Well, and I have to tell you, I've heard Thomas Grasser, you say you now want a deadbeat to be mayor. You know what? This is a man who's been married a quarter century. He and his wife have 3 children, and $170,000 a year for him, that's not a lot of money. Not today. The studies show, and I'm getting feedback, Alex, the studies show that people who make $100,000 a year or more are living paycheck to paycheck.
That's real.
That's real. The fact is, we are all on a slippery slope unless we are very, very wealthy. Even $10 million doesn't make you wealthy today. So let's be clear on that. If you want perfection, you go on and be perfect yourself. If you want perfection, then you run for office and you present yourself as a perfect person. I'd rather have a Stacey Abrams who understands being broke, because I understand it too, because I didn't inherit wealth. I'd rather have a Brandon Johnson who, with his wife, like my parents, has to juggle their money to pay to send us to school and to eat and on and on and on and on. I remember my mother laying scaffolding in our big old house that people would talk about so she could paint the ceiling. Because hiring someone would have cost too much. I went to the Singer Sewing School, everybody. So my mother said, well, if you want this sweater, it'll be cheaper if you can make the skirt. So I made my skirts till I was about 23, 24. Stop playing these games. If you want perfection, you be perfection. In the meantime, God uses ordinary people to do what God needs us to do. I don't want a perfect servant. I want a present servant. I don't want someone who's going to lie to me about all that they are so that I can find out all that they aren't. I don't want that. Enough of that. You want someone who has lived a perfect life, then okay. You're going to find out just how imperfect they are. Let all that go. Get out of folks' bedrooms. Get out of their pockets. Pay them enough money so they are above being bribed and so that they can go on and get sick if they need to. That's the problem in America today. No, and all around the world, people are not being paid a wage that they can live on. Enough of that. So you save all of that. Don't put that on my chat line. I want present servants. And I don't want a perfect servant. I want someone who wants to serve it, who wants to try to serve us perfectly. But I'm trying to tell you that part of that is on us. We're the ones who are going to have to push the people we elect to do what we need them to do, because the corporatocracy is already on the 5th floor. The corporatocracy is already in Congress. They're already in the White House. What are you going to do? Support your organizations who support you. Get on up and make America work for you. Back with more of the Santita Jackson Show in just a minute. I'm done with that. Do you hear me?
Ms. Jackson, I'm working with Matt and the engineer Jim.
Uh-huh.
He said he reset the tie line 1. Do you want to try right now?
Of course I will. Let me do this. Let me turn it off right now. And let me just try it again. Because I had to change the settings on my Facebook. Okay, I think we might be back on there. Okay, I need you to hang up, honey. Hang up. Okay. Can you hear me? Okay. Now, I need to know if my people on Facebook, can you hear me now? Let me know, let me know, let me know. If you can hear me, talk to me, talk to me, talk to me, everybody. I need to know. We're having a lot of sound issues today. Isn't that interesting? You know it is. So let me know, can you hear me? My voice is okay? You can hear loud and clear? Okay, very good. Okay, I'm trying to ask the people on Facebook and YouTube if they can hear me too. They can hear us now. Great, 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 great. No. We have to keep on pushing. Okay? And just get all the guests up so we can get right into this election. Whew! Pastor Thurston, can you hear me still? Okay, no, bring him back, honey, because he was supposed to, well, no, you get everybody else up and then you can call him, okay? All right, very good. All right, everybody. One of these days, you got to give love to Alex Castaneda, because I tell you what, Mr. Castaneda has really been pushing this morning. We had everything to go crazy. It's nuts. All right? Everything has just been absolutely nuts today. But, you know, we got on through now, didn't we? Yes. Hey, Tony Barker from Seattle, Washington. How you doing? Everybody, please like and share the show. Like and share. Like and share. And let's talk about the Chicago election, and we're going to talk about the Chicago election and Wisconsin. That is of tremendous consequence today, too. The president. Oh, hey, Dwight McKee, how you doing? Good morning. Good morning. It's wonderful to hear your voice. Okay, let me do this. You see, we're in, what do you think is going to happen in, I have to ask you about New York when we get on the air. What do you think is going to happen there? Do you think people will be out today or will they not? They'll write at the ballot box. You know what I mean? Okay. Hold on 1 second, Dwight. One moment. They said that the station is loud on YouTube. Don't know what that is. We just have to make some adjustments today. All right, stand by. Hey, Jeanette. Okay, honey, just make sure we're not on mute so we can get right to it. Stand by. Hey everybody, welcome to the Santita Jackson Show, April 4th, 2023. It is election day in Chicago. It is election day in Wisconsin. That race is of tremendous consequence. Of course, we're going to have John Nichols from The Nation talking about both the Chicago and Wisconsin races. The Supreme Court in Wisconsin is on the line. And remember, it was the Supreme Court of Wisconsin that almost sent a slate of false electors to vote in the presidential election. It was one vote. If had it changed, it would have been a false set of electors sent to Washington. So you just, look, you can't make this stuff up. All elections matter. All of them matter. I want you to call me at 773-763-9278, 773-763-WCPT. I want to thank my morning stars and all of you for bearing with us as we have been working through some sound issues this morning. It's just been very interesting, right? Yeah. But Alex Castaneda, who is my board operator, he and Matt Cummings, but I have to tell you, Alex, I got to give you mad props for working this out. And but you know what? I'm glad it kind of happened, Alex, because this is how we learn when things go kablooey. That's how we learn. So everybody, go on over to YouTube, to the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel. Hello, Antho, out there in France, sending you much love. You got to let me know what's going on there. All of the demonstrations about the corporatists wanting you to work a little longer. I'm watching you. My eyes are on Paris too, and on France and all over the world. So I want you to call us at 773-763-9278, 773-763-WCPT. What do you make of this race? John Nichols will be on with us. Congressman Jonathan Jackson will be on with us. Councilwoman Kendra Brooks from Philadelphia, Dr. Wyatt from New Orleans. They want to talk about what happened to their schools after Paul Vallis oversaw them. Got a lot to talk about today with Aaron Conley and Robert Patillo, and of course Dwight McKee and Attorney Jeanette Wilson. Dwight McKee, what do you see today? Well, if we could, let's back this up a bit, because we have got something unprecedented, historic happening in New York today. I think at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time, 11 o'clock Central Time, we will see at least still photographs of former President Trump arrested in a courtroom in New York. Wow. We've not seen that. And he's been able to raise a lot of money. And he is the leading candidate for the Republican nomination for the presidency of the United States. And his popularity with his, not just with his base, with people just has grown, quite frankly. And so what do you make of this? I told you to make some t-shirts, Dwight, but you have an allergy to just even making just a little bit of money. Bless your heart. What'd you say? What'd you say we were doing then by indicting him? What did you say, Dwight? Ooh, for an hour? Were there that many people voting, Dwight? Wow. All right, everybody. I want you to call us at 773-763-9278, 773-763-WCPT. Want to know what your thoughts are? We've been, and let me see, do we have Robert Patillo on? Attorney Patillo, are you on? Okay. What do you, I mean, we, of course, are going to be talking about the Chicago race, but I want to know what you think about what's happening in New York today with former President Trump. Because that's big, too. We've got several big news stories. Wait. It's still in danger. Wait a minute. Hold on. But you know what you did? You sucked the air out the room because you're not questioning the banks. You're not looking at all these other things that impact our lives every day. It's wonderful theater. But wait a minute, the statute of limitations, it expired on this thing. I'm like, what are we talking about? Are we talking about a man who didn't want his wife to find out that he was fooling around with a Playboy model? Are you for real? All y'all would do that. Mm-hmm. Would you say that again? Would you say that one more time about the de-dollarization of the world? No? Oh, ridiculous. In the meantime, you've got this Wisconsin race today that could turn the presidential election. You've got the Chicago election that can really it's certainly going to let you know where the Democrats are right now. There's a lot going on, and you've got the banking system. The biggest banks in the world have been trying to buy the biggest banks in the world to save the Western banking system while we're de-dollarizing. While Saudi Arabia joined the BRICS nations. I'm like, are you serious right now? We're not even having that discussion, Dwight? Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
hegemony over Africa right now, to the point that a sitting vice president is all but disrespected by the leaders there. The female president of Tanzania, when she found out Kamala Harris was coming to visit, went to Beijing the week before to make an agreement with them before Kamala Harris could even get there. And we're talking about Donald Trump's paperwork.
Oof.
Overnight, we're going to become a third world country. Overnight. Because, one, we have no manufacturing capacity. We had exported all of that through NAFTA. And secondly, it's going to take us 3 to 4 to 5 years to electrify. And so what you have is really overnight, all we're going to have left is a military infrastructure that has to negotiate based on shock and awe, or the threat of shock and awe. The world as we understand it really is effectively over. We have no strategy for it. And we're talking about a man who had an affair with a woman of questionable virtue.
Both of them. Both of them. Hurry. Step right on in. Come on. Yes. Well, there's just a lot going on today, and, I wanted to ask you, too, about this, but let's pivot to this Chicago mayoral race. It is a big deal, Reverend Jeanette Wilson. It's a big deal. I'm shocked. Dwight, you didn't tell me yesterday that it took you an hour to vote. You didn't tell me that this baby took her an hour. I've known her daughter since she was pregnant with her. So
I'm going to tell Naima you all are talking about her on the radio. She's shy.
Well, because I know it's going to get hostile about her, and I don't care, because I'm proud of this young lady. She's a beautiful young woman, beautiful young lady. But we do remember when you were rolling around about to have her.
Absolutely.
I was in high school. Unbelievable. That having been said, are you surprised by the turnout? I mean, what do you think has turned people on, before I get to you, Aaron Connolly?
I think what is happening, people are realizing, they're listening to, and there have been enough forums, and Brandon and Dallas have been all over the city of Chicago, and people are beginning to see the differences. They're beginning to hear the facts. And when you look at our school system, when you look at our communities, the lack of investment, everybody sees that there is a need for a change. And the question is, are we going to continue to operate with the same structures that we've had historically, or are we going to have a new vision for this city? And I think that you can see Brandon's heart. You can hear Johnson's heart, and you can hear Vallis's promises to stabilize certain kind of things, but people are looking for somebody who really, really, really understands and cares. And when people hear, I live in the community, my children go to these schools that we know need to be better. They're not in selective enrollment schools. I want to make every school a selective school, a school of choice. And so I think that people are just beginning to feel the pressure. I just hope this weather holds back until after 7 so that people who have not yet voted get out and vote. Chicago is a pivotal city in America's world, and we have to make sure that Chicago reflects the best of America and the diversity of America, and no longer represents one segment of America, one ideology of America, one culture. Chicago is a multicultural city, and I think what got me really inspired, and some other people, Saturday, I don't know, you remember the young lady who was in a sanctuary at Reverend Coleman's church for 1 year. She was there with her son, who at the time was 8 years old. He's 24 now, and he has run one of the police district council seats. He was so powerful because he's been through a lot. They finally got deported 7 years ago, and now he's back living here, running for office, about to graduate from college. And, I mean, it just brought me to tears to see this young man say black and brown together. we're going to elect the next mayor of the city of Chicago. And I can just see people are coming together. I mean, this is the first time since your father ran for president that you've had clergy across denominational lines united and coming forth saying something. Big clergy, little clergy, all saying, "Hey, it's time. We're gonna take souls to the polls." Individually supporting Brandon Johns. Church of God in Christ does not come out and do this.
At all.
The presiding prelate. I mean, they just don't. We had 3 bishops say, "I support this young man," and the constant prayers for him. And they're not playing prayer. These are pastors that are not looking for a check. They're looking to invest in a community for people. They're speaking truth to power. And yesterday, Moss and Dr. Moss and Reverend Sharp, oh my God, just unbelievably placing in historical context the meaning of this election and the message for people. So I just feel there's some energy. And I wanted to say with Robert, and this is a spiritual time. This is the fall of the American Empire.
Well,
just like the Roman Empire fell.
And, but hopefully the rising of the beloved community. That was what Dr. King was fighting for.
It is.
Because, the thing is, it's not, I don't want America to die. I want America to live. But the only way America can live is if it rises as the beloved community. Indeed, Gore Vidal, one of my favorite authors and thinkers in the world, said his principal disappointment in America was that America chose empire when we could have achieved civilization. Think about that, everybody.
Absolutely.
Think about that. But let me pivot to a couple.
We want the empire to fall, not America. But the empire must go because it's oppressing people.
And because imperialism it doesn't work. If you notice, all of the imperial powers are falling and their colonized people are rising and they're joining together. Now, we don't want them to be tyrants either. But look, come on, everybody. I've got 2 minutes for you, Attorney Erin Connolly.
Good morning and happy Election Day to everyone. What a day, huh? Quite a lot of news to get through, my goodness.
Oh, my.
And this panel, it's been so interesting to hear all of this analysis this morning. And you're absolutely right. The world news gets lost in our conversation too much. And as one of the leaders on this planet, we have to be a little more involved and know what's going on with stories like Kamala Harris's visit to Africa and how our markets are impacted. So all of those things are so crucial to how we move forward and what our power will look like. And today, we're focused in Chicago on local power, right? And we are out in the street making sure all these polling sites are open and election judges are supported and that poll watchers are able to get in and observe this process as they're legally allowed to do. So if you have any problems at the polls today, you can call 866-RVOTE, and they will help get somebody out to take care of the issue for you. But today is Election Day. It's going to be a rainy one, and we're going to be out here talking to voters and making the case for the progressive slate in this race, which we have a wonderful one. And Brandon Johnson will be out with us later today as well. So we're excited about that.
Amen to that. Amen to that. Have I missed anyone, Pastor? I think I wanted to hear something from you before you and Attorney Connolly and Reverend Wilson go. Reverend Thurston?
Yes, Santita, it is crucial that the young people, that keeps being my drum that I beat, that the young people join the power of their voice and their vote today. I think that they are a key linchpin in how things turn out. And our seasoned saints have been carrying this load for a long time. It is up to us now to kind of step up to the plate, get up off of our blessed assurances, so that our voices be heard. And I would that our seasoned people would drag, pull, kidnap your young people to the polls today and make sure that they exercise this vital right. Because we've got a candidate here that's about progression and another candidate that's about regression.
Absolutely.
Progression is the way we want to go.
You know,
We need to make sure he's on the fifth floor.
and we're going to have to continue to push. Before you go, Attorney Connolly, you've been out with a lot of our Latina sisters have been out canvassing for Brandon Johnson. I mean, and I know there has been one very progressive sister who has been running. I forget, is it the 12th ward? Which ward is it?
Yeah, so we're in the 36th ward today, with progressive endorsed Lori Torres-Witt, who's also supporting Brandon Johnson from the beginning, part of the Teachers and Educators for Brandon movement, and a lot of the younger women who volunteered with our campaign have experienced some harassment and intimidation, and so we're prepared. We have great lawyers and great folks out to support our volunteers and teams. But if you see anybody causing problems, again, 866-OUR-VOTE. It helps all of the campaigns out that we can participate in a peaceful process, right? Let's play by the rules, guys.
Yeah, well, absolutely. I mean, and pull out those phones and go to YouTube and go to Facebook, everybody. Let people know in real time what is happening. Amen. Okay? I mean, really, come on now. Because, there's always been pushback by the power structure against the people moving. But, the people cannot be stopped. Victory is certain, but you have got to know that the struggle continues. It goes on and on and on and on. Pastor Stephen Thurston, Attorney Erin Connolly, and Reverend, I was about to say Reverend Doctor, but she is a lawyer, Reverend Jeanette Wilson, sending you much love. I know you all are getting out today. Everybody's over at Rainbow Push today. Jeanette Wilson, 1 minute. People are at Rainbow Push today because we're getting people to the polls. We're dealing with the polling issues.
Come to Rainbow Push. If you have any questions, if you have any concerns at the polling place, don't leave the polling place. Just call us at 773-373-3366 Freedom, and we will send lawyers. We'll send people to check on you. We want you to vote. Call your friends. Call your family. Call 10, tell 10, tweet 10. It's time to vote. It's not too late. If you're not registered, register and vote on site. Just take 2 pieces of ID to the polling place. Have any problems, call Push. We'll be there from 6 to 7 tonight.
Hey, everybody, and I'll be on air.
For my godson. Can I do a shout out for Will Hall? Those of you in the 6th Ward, if you haven't voted, vote for Will Hall.
Okay, I'm endorsing no one, but I wish everyone well, and I do hope that you will get out and vote. Get out and vote, everybody. Please vote. Same day, on-site voter registration. That is key, everybody. Get out and vote, get out and vote, get out and vote. Let's talk with Dr. Wyatt and Councilwoman Kendra Brooks from Philadelphia. Dr. Wyatt is from New Orleans. Let's talk with Kevin Lampe. Let's talk with Dwight McKee. Let's talk with Robert Patillo. And, of course, Congressman Jonathan Jackson will be joining us shortly. And John Nichols. Got a lot on the plate today. It's Election Day. It's Election Day. Everybody get out and vote. Back in just a minute on the Santita Jackson Show. Whew. All right, y'all. There's so much going on. Thank you. Okay, now we've had nothing but insanity today with this sound. Crazy. Absolutely crazy. Nothing worked. Nothing worked. Nothing. But now we're good. So I'm gonna let you all go, and because I need because I've lost some phone lines. But thank you, Jeanette. Thank you, Erin Connolly. Thank you, Pastor Thurston.
I'll send you a confirmation and make sure you have a backup number for Congresswoman Ramirez.
Okay, she's coming on at 7:30.
I want you to know.
Okay.
Yeah,
Mr. Thurston is following me.
Okay, no, hold on 1 second. I'll bring her right up and right off. Okay, Jeanette.
Okay, sorry.
No, it's okay.
I just want you to know, Thurston is following me everywhere I go to speak. He's there. So he's working hard.
Oh, look, I love it, because that's what he needs to do. Look, he is free enough to do that. That is what our pastors have traditionally done. So I am so glad that he is embracing that tradition and not running away from it. So proud of him.
He's the man. my leader.
Well, he's learning from you, and so that's a wonderful thing. Give Naima and your wonderful husband our love.
I will.
Okay, so let me go
I
out
love
in the streets and
Pastor.
vote.
Have a great day, Santita. See you later today.
I will. In fact, tonight I will be on from 6:45 until 9. Oh, and then I've got to be back up at 2, but that's all right. Yep. Joan Esposito, Patty Vasquez, and Santita Jackson will be hosting this live wall-to-wall coverage of the election tonight. So I hope you all will tune in. Please tune in to oh no, Joyce, Daryl Jones is not missing in action. We just had to make a hard pivot to this Chicago election over the past couple of weeks. So you'll be hearing from a lot of other people, CK and everyone else. But because of the pivot to the election, there's some people who I needed to pull on just every day because I needed some folks who really, really understood the intricacies of Chicago politics. Mr. Patillo has a growing reputation as an international pundit. We're so proud of him. We needed to at least acknowledge what is happening in New York with President Trump. But I hope that you all will see this as the diversion that I think it is, because so much has happened in the world over the past week, 2 weeks. It's mind-blowing, and it's going to change our standard of living. The de-dollarization of the world will change our standard of living. There was a time when you could spend American dollars anywhere. Now they laugh at you and throw the money back at you when you're out of the country. It's amazing. It's amazing. Saudi Arabia has joined the BRICS nations. We better pay attention and don't get distracted by this sideshow in New York. It's a sideshow. I mean, Dwight and Robert Patillo, are you all still there?
I am, and I thought Robert's analysis was brilliant.
Both of you have brilliant analyses. I mean, but it's let the sideshow begin. Dwight, you just need to go on and put on that polyester suit and go on and be part of a 70s group. Go on, do it.
Don't make him do that.
Oh, my gosh. Oh, yes, he is. Because he pivots back to those songs all the time, and because he knew all these guys. Okay, didn't you bring the stylistics to one of the talent shows, Dwight?
Yeah, that was
Kevin Lampy, Dr. Wyatt, and Kendra Brooks is on.
Okay, Councilwoman Brooks.
You look forward to pass me by.
Oh yeah.
To make me cry.
Oh look, Councilwoman Brooks. We're just reminiscing a bit. Rainbow Push. When I was growing up in Operation Push and Breadbasket, boy, we used to have some fun. And Dwight McKee, who's on with us right now, used to have. He was the head of the youth division, and they would have these monster talent shows. And Dwight knew all of the big artists because we'd bring the big artist in for Expo. So you might at this little local talent show, the stylistics would show up. David Ruffin, remember he had the rainbow wig on and everybody was frightened to death? You can't. Oh, I remember that because I was like, who is this guy? And my babysitters knew who he was. Of course I didn't know who David Ruffin was. I was come on, I'm Michael Jackson, okay? Thank you. Come on, Councilwoman Brooks and Dr. Wyatt.
And the winners will get a record contract. Brighter Sides of Darkness came out of the talent. So Love Jones.
That's right.
Chief Barrow won that talent show. He became a star. The winner of the talent show would actually get a record contract. And so a lot of stars came out of that show. Those shows.
It was big fun. But for me, it was just big fun. And, all the girls were screaming over the guys who were singing, from high schools, blah, blah, blah. Oh, so much fun.
Oh, so much fun.
Oh, I miss those days, though. I do. Okay, before I go into Those Were the Days by Archie Bunker and Edith, let me not do that either. Whew, let me not go too far. Councilwoman Brooks, Dr. White, how are you today?
Good. Good morning.
I'm so glad that you're with us. And, of course, Kevin Lampy, are you there?
Good morning.
Good morning. I'm moving all of you. And Robert Patillo, Dwight McKee, you all still there?
Yes, we are.
I'm moving you all around. because I've got Congressman Jackson coming on. We're going to have Congresswoman Delia Ramirez at the bottom of the hour, so I'm having to move you all around. But I want Dr. Wyatt and Councilwoman Brooks, please let us know, if you could, in like 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes, let us know what happened in New Orleans, what happened in Philadelphia. Getting that story out, and if I could get you back, because I think the corporatization of our schools is a conversation that we just need to have beyond this moment. Really.
30 seconds.
Absolutely.
You know, so if...
I don't know.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you need me to go first? Like, which one of us? I don't want to cut the councilwoman off.
No. Who wants to go first? Flipping the coin. Who wants to go first?
No, it doesn't matter. I can knock it out real quickly for you.
No, hold on. We're not on air yet. Hold on.
10 seconds.
Okay, stand by. We're coming up.
Stand by.
We can change the world, change the world, change the world. We can change the world, we can change the world, change the world.
This is the Santita Jackson Show.
And hate to a place of love, it's not too late. Gotta save the children, we can't wait. Let's change the world.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Santita Jackson Show on WCPT 820, the nation's largest progressive talk radio station, and AM 950 Radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota. It is Election Day in Chicago. It is Election Day in Wisconsin. These two elections are of tremendous consequence. Wisconsin has an opportunity to make their Supreme Court progressive, tilt in the progressive direction. Remember, it was Wisconsin that could have sent a false slate of electors to Washington to vote in the presidential election in 2020. That missed by one vote. Think about it. That one vote does matter, and that's what they're voting on today in Wisconsin. And they're one of the most gerrymandered states in the United States. Most of the voters there in that state are Democrats, but most of the seats are held by Republicans because of gerrymandering. And in Chicago, this is really a test of where Democratic politics and where American politics are. I mean, are we looking at the police union? The head of the police union said there will be blood in the streets, mass resignations of the police force should Brandon Johnson win. Or are we looking at the Chicago Teachers Union, someone who was a teacher in the public school system who said, you know what, I want every school to be like a Whitney Young, like a Northside Prep, like a Lynn Bloom, like a MLK, all these selective schools. Every school should be selective. Not trying to cancel those out, but every neighborhood school should be strong and have affordable housing and on and on and on. And we should not be closing schools. We should be opening them. We should not have bigger classrooms. We should have smaller class sizes. So what do you think is going to happen? I want you to call us at 773-763-9278, 773-763-WCPT. And of course, this is the 55th anniversary of the killing of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King in Memphis, Tennessee, but it is also the 56th anniversary of his stance against the military-industrial complex. Indeed, many people believe that it was his Riverside speech, his absolute stance against the Vietnam War, that got him killed. He had just come off of leading the biggest anti-Vietnam march in the country. More than 1 million people marched in Washington, in New York City, and he led that march. So let's think about that. Twin those dates. It's not just the date that he was martyred. It was also the date that he stepped into martyrdom. When he finished that speech at Riverside, his chief of staff, Reverend Dr. Wyatt T. Walker, looked at him and said, "Martin, you have just signed your death warrant." He said, "I know. But this was the right thing to do, to take the stand against the military industrial complex." Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Everybody in Chicago, get out and vote. Get out and vote today. There's no reason for you not to vote. Same day, on-site voter registration. You can do it. You should do it. You must do it. Don't let a minority make a majority decision for you. In Chicago, we'll have a high of 57 degrees, thunderstorms. Minneapolis, St. Paul, 38 degrees, rain and snow on Election Day. March Madness, congratulations, UConn. On the men's side, they are the champions, winning over San Diego State. But no one thought San Diego State would get this far. And then, of course, the Lady Tigers of LSU win on the women's side. What a bracket-busting tournament this has been fantastic. In the NBA, the Timberwolves will be playing the Nets tonight. The Hawks will be playing the Bulls. In the NHL, the Golden Knights 4, the Wild 3, and Chicago will be playing the Flames tonight. Everyone is also looking at New York. What will happen with the Trump arraignment? Will he go to jail? No. But he has been indicted. It's the first time that a former president in the history of the Republic has been arrested, arraigned, and that he will face criminal charges. We will see what will come of all of that, everybody. Gas prices are set to go up. The national average for a regular a gallon of gas is $3.51, according to AAA, but they expect it to go on up because OPEC absolutely surprised America, and they announced with their allies that they would slash oil production, which of course is going to raise our prices. And those are just some of the headlines on the Santita Jackson Show. Of course, we are looking for you to do something that increasing numbers of Americans cannot do. We want you to be able to buy your own home, and Team Hochberg can help you to do that. If you are a first-time home buyer, which means that you cannot have owned a home in the past 3 years, you need to call Team Hochberg at 855-56-DAVID, 855-56-DAVID. They are your trusted local lender. First-time buyers made up just 26% of home buyers last year, down from 34% in the year before, and the numbers are falling. And so Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac have been alarmed by this, and they want to turn these numbers around by incentivizing first-time home buyers, people who have not owned homes in the past 3 years. They're going to offer substantially lower rates. This could change at any time, so you need to take advantage of this. If you are living in the Chicago area and earn less than $105,700, you could be eligible for this program. And so, but you can't have owned a home in the past 3 years, everybody. Call Team Hochberg at 855-56-DAVID, 855-56-DAVID to see if you qualify for this program. Please, everybody, for these amazingly low interest rates, that could change at any time. Not making this up, it could change at any time, but that is the story today, everybody. So we want you to not miss that opportunity. Call Team Hochberg at 855-56-DAVID, 855-56-DAVID, or visit them at 56david.com. And you know what? You might need to get refinanced. They can help you to do all of those things. And so we want you to do that. Of course, joining Robert Patillo and Dwight McKee, Kevin Lampy, part of the family here. And of course, we have got two of the leading advocates for public education in the country. Indeed, we have got Philadelphia Councilwoman Kendra Brooks and Dr. Ashanta Wyatt. Ladies, which one of you want to take it? Because you both had Paul Vallis to head up your schools. And I'm telling you, I was just shocked to find out that 100% of the public schools in New Orleans are charter schools now. Unbelievable. Who wants to go first?
Good morning. This is Dr. Wyatt out of New Orleans. Our school system is absolutely 100% charter. I think it's important to note that in 2007, when Paul Vallis came to New Orleans, he ushered in this idea of this tough on education, no excuses, zero tolerance policy. And that included the firing of 7,500 of our teachers so that he can make way for the Teach for America entity that came into our school system, because they felt like, well, Paul felt like teacher certification in the union, having that union protection was the root cause of why our schools were failing. And so the first thing he did was fire the teachers so that he could bust up the union. And then he brought in Teach for America, who's at the premise of them, they did not have to have certifications. They just came from all over the country with the intent to show us how to do school in New Orleans. And so that led to the institution of privatization of our public entity. So now every one of our schools is ran by a charter operator who also, the operators also don't have to have education in their background. Most of these people are businessmen. They come from workforces that have nothing to do with pedagogy or, best practices for our children. It's just a no-nonsense, tough on children protocols. They walk online. They have to put bubbles in their mouth. They can't talk at lunch.
Wait, what? Hold. Don't go that fast. What?
Yes, ma'am. They have silent lunches in New Orleans. So you cannot talk and socialize with your peers while you're eating. Yes. And you get about 20 minutes to eat. And you have to do so and do it quickly, do not talk. So that's the model of education that he ushered in 2007. And nearly 20 years later, our schools are worse. Our population of children has drastically declined. We cannot get our veteran teacher workforce back. And so we're just struggling at a level that, though we had issues pre-Katrina, it is nothing in comparison to what we're dealing with now. Pre-Katrina, we had maybe 6 failing schools. Right now, we have over 60 failing schools, and we only have 71 of them. And so, I mean, in a nutshell, that is what he did to public education in the city of New Orleans. He demolished it. It's unrecognizable. There's no education, no teaching and learning going on. Our kids can't read on grade level. Most of our graduates graduate and can't read on a 6th grade level. They're not doing well in college. They're not doing well in career because they cannot read. The literacy rates are in the toilet in New Orleans. And that is all because of what Paul Vallis instituted in 2007 with the help of Paul Pastorak as our state superintendent on a state level. So, I mean, in a nutshell, that's who he is. He is destruction personified.
Oh, you coming back to this show. We're going to talk about this because the great thing about this election is that it has spotlighted education. That's why when I was listening to the corporate media this morning and they were talking about, oh, this is about law and order, I said, no, you aren't talking to black and brown people. Because we have a different view of this. We have a far more intersectional view. We know that our schools were closed here, Dr. Wyatt and Councilwoman Brooks and Kevin Lampy and Attorney Patillo and Dwight McKee. We know what happened when you took out these black principals and you took out these vice principals and these teachers with seniority and the lunch lady and the lunch man and the janitors. You wiped out a whole ecosystem. People had their kids in school. They had to pull them out. It's insane. Councilwoman Brooks.
Good morning. Good morning. And, you know, when I listen to Dr. Wyatt tell her story about New Orleans, I think about in Philadelphia, and I have like a vivid picture. I have 4 children. My oldest is 30. My youngest is 14. And they all went to our neighborhood school, which is a K-5. When Vallis came into Philadelphia, he switched the model. So all schools came between K-8 or 9 to 12, eliminating the middle school model. I think there were only a few middle schools left. And why is that so important? In the process of expanding this K-8 model, our school lost 27 staff. So we went from a K-5 to a K-8 and lost 27 adults in the building. And then turn around and said the school was failing and underperforming, and they tried to turn my particular school into a charter. That's how I got involved, and that was like one of my introductions, really, to this destruction. But it wasn't just in our school. It was in schools across the city. Because he believed in this restructuring of schools without a clear plan on how it was going to work. He had zero tolerance policies, meaning created more warehouses for children that were having problems instead of creating social services to support young people that are struggling. So, to Dr. Wyatt's point, when the pedagogy was missing, he was concerned about a business, making the school district a business, and no concern of the needs of the community. So, of course, if you lose adults in the building and lose vital resources, you're going to see the academic level decline. But he still continued to do that throughout the city, with this restructuring of schools, which part of that restructuring also in Philadelphia meant the laying off of so many black and brown teachers and administrators. Because my children's school was 100% black. I've never been to a school in Philly with 100% black teachers. For most of the time, my children have been there. But we lost so many of those educators, and they were kind of sent all throughout the city, losing some key tools because they have an understanding of the community, understanding of family, understanding of how to teach, this particular area. And I live in a regular low to middle class black income neighborhood. And along with that, this privatization, he kind of should end this whole school choice and turnaround strategies, which, increased. Philadelphia has I think we're up to 83 charters, which is the highest amount of charters of any city in in Pennsylvania. So we had the majority charters taking place in Philly. And the problem is that with the charters, many of the turnaround schools were typical K-8 or high schools that they saw underperforming. So they gave them over to a charter provider to do better. But the problem is we don't see better results. Very, very seldom it's better than what the school was doing before. And if it is, it's very incremental for the loss that, these turnaround schools have to income. And since he's left, some of those charter providers decided they no longer wanted to do charter school in Philadelphia and just abandoned ship, which left the district trying to figure out what to do with sometimes thousands of children within a month because we had to find another educational placement for young people in geographical areas. He did a lot of selling off of buildings as his business model, and some of the money went unfound, but that's a whole other story.
No. I want you to, Kevin Lampe, they need to come back because this problem is, this cancer is bigger than this election. Even though this election really is turning on it, but the corporate media won't talk about it, Kevin. Because we had 50 of these schools closed in the Black community. 50 with names of Black icons on them. But you had people, that's the backbone of our middle class in the Black community, the teachers. Are you for real? And for people who were denied the right to learn to read and write, it was illegal? Oh, wow. The insult is so profound it leaves me speechless.
Absolutely, Santita. It is sad because education is a public good, and it's called public education. It's not called private education. And it is schools are cornerstones of communities all across this country. The local teachers, the local principals. These are people that are active in the community. These are people that are literally setting up the direction that our community will take in the future. And how can you educate students when your first priority is not education, your first priority is profit? And when you're obsessed with making money, you're not obsessed with educating students.
But we're not hearing this story, Dwight. When you hear Councilwoman Brooks, when you hear Dr. Wyatt, and when you can't speak at lunch, what is that?
It's in a real sense tyranny, because it's at school that kids learn social skills. It's at school kids learn the fellowship. The big part of our education was recess, because it gave us a chance to integrate ourselves with people who ultimately we ended up in fraternities with, and at church with, and jobs with. And so you really learn to socialize at school. What you're looking at is you're looking at the education being subjected to a corporate interest at the expense of kids, both economic and social development. And so you no longer really have schools where you have a concentration camps. It's a concentration camp model. And the danger of a Paul Vallis is he knows how to explain that in such a way that he thinks that you feel like he's doing you a favor, throwing your teachers out of a job, and taking your children and putting them at educational limbo. He can smile and grin and say that in such a way is that people will be fooled into thinking that he's doing them a favor. It's very Nazi-like that way.
Well, Robert Patillo, your thoughts? Because this to me is a bigger conversation that we need to be having about public education, Robert.
Well, absolutely, and I think this is part of the problem that we have in the American body politic as it is. We have that free concept of res publica, what is good for the public, that has gone by the wayside in order to promote kind of this reality TV version of politics now. Now politicians don't find any need to articulate exactly how they're going to fix the schools. They just say, I'm going to fix the schools. They don't say how I'm going to stop crime. They say, I'm going to stop crime. They don't say how we're going to fix any problem. They just give these broad declarations with no depth to it. And because we have a political cycle that is built on 30-second sound bites and glossy commercials and ads being put out there, people don't really dive deep into exactly what the policy mechanisms are around this. And as we're in a frightening place in this country, where I'm going to go back to the international gaze on these things, the average American high school student doesn't read as well as the average third grader in Lagos, Nigeria. And that's going to catch up with us very quickly. And either we address that and nip it in the bud and change what we're doing, or we continue with this antiquated model we have currently.
I mean, I'm going to give the final words to Councilwoman Brooks and to Dr. Wyatt. Councilwoman Brooks, in 1 minute, what do you want us to know? Oh, is Councilwoman Brooks still there? No, it's okay.
Yes, I'm here. Yes. I think that, the significance of this conversation is that we have to get out and vote. We have to make sure that Paul Violence doesn't have the opportunity to cause more destruction than he has. And, that's it.
Dr. Wyatt. I mean, whew.
So I echo that sentiment. I believe that what happens here in Chicago on this election night is going to have resounding effects on what he's done across this country and what he continues to want to do around this country. I think it's going to send a definitive message that our children and our communities are off limits. There's no more privatization of public goods, whether that be education, healthcare, or anything that is meant to uplift poor, marginalized communities. So we have to elect Brandon Johnson, and we have to say no to Paul Vallis and the destruction that he's done to poor Black and brown communities.
And the Walton family, who are helping to fund his candidacy. And all of these right-wing entities. See, yeah, absolutely. Because, we're looking at him, we're missing the people who are funding him, because they'll find another hired gun. If we don't deal with these corporate entities and these oligarchs who are destroying this American idea and this American ideal and who are wreaking havoc upon this American experiment, we're all going to pay for it. But you got to get involved, everybody. You must vote. This country is up for and by you. The government is up for and by you. If you don't participate in it, you're letting them have it. They're participating. Now, what about you? What you going to do? Go to Rainbow Push today, everybody. Go to Rainbow Push today. We are getting people to the polls. We're answering their questions. If you have a problem at the polls, call 866-594. Oh, excuse me, 866. Call 866. What is it? Our vote. 866 Our Vote. 866 Our Vote. Coming up, Congressman Jonathan Jackson, Congresswoman Delia Ramirez, and John Nichols to talk about these elections and why they're so important. Sending you much love today, everybody. Stand by with more of the Santita Jackson Show. Dr. Wyatt and Councilwoman Brooks.
Yes, ma'am.
Would you mind telling, I'm going to have Congressman Jackson up in a hot second and Congresswoman Ramirez, just, this, if you could just give them just a quick overview, Dwight, I just can't believe these kids can't talk at lunchtime. This is insane. And they're not being educated, they're being trained. There's getting them ready, putting them, this is when you talk about the prison pipeline. Be obedient. Just all of it. You must comply. Comply or you die. I'm like, when I comply with the police, I die anyway. What are you talking about? I'm with Dr. King. You're supposed to oppose unjust laws. Well, and that's what Jesus did, okay? So, no, I can't. I ain't got nothing left. Whew. It's too
And the thing is, in New Orleans,
Congressman Jackson's on.
he gets to go around touting this success, but none of the people who he's talking to are talking to the people most impacted by his destruction. They're talking to everybody who financially benefited from it. So, of course, they're going to uplift, the reforms that he put in place. But the truth of the matter is our schools are worse off, our communities are worse off than before we met this man. And I think it's important to understand that they were planning this prior to 2005. It's just that Katrina happened and it opened the gates up to up their process and move it quicker. They were already eyeing our city for a takeover. They were already doing it. And Katrina just gave them the method by which to implement their plan faster.
No, I was working at Push when Katrina happened, and people called and said that because they wanted Reverend Jackson to come down there, and he was already on his way there, but he was coming from Venezuela through Atlanta. We've got Congressman Jonathan Jackson with us. I wanted him to hear part of your story. Congressman Jackson?
Hello, Santita.
My baby brother, Jonathan. So I just have to say that before I call
Mr.
him
Nichols is on.
Congressman Jackson again before he gets upset. But Congressman Jackson, I've got Councilwoman Kendra Brooks from Philadelphia and Dr. Wyatt, Ashanta Wyatt from New Orleans, and they've been talking about their experiences under, as parents and as educators under Paul Vallis when he headed their school system. Jonathan, I did not know that the kids are not allowed to speak during lunch in New Orleans. Did you know that?
That's awful. I mean, there's no other way to describe it. And what's happened across the country, this move for privatization, for vouchers, for chartering of the schools has been an attempt and an attack on public education. And it's supplanted the dream of really a meritocracy where people can be in one school. You're going to see a wave of charter schools now to go under as well. They're going to have increasing pressures on rent and teacher and pay and all the other things, the same conditions that the general public education has.
Congresswoman Ramirez is on.
It's on a bigger problem. So delaying a problem wasn't fixing it, and we're in the same place, if not arguably worse.
1 minute.
Congressman, we've got your colleague, one of my favorite people in the world, Congresswoman Delia Ramirez, on with us. How you doing, Congresswoman?
The phone lines are full. I need one person to get off in order to get Mr. Lewis on.
Wow.
Okay. No, you don't have to get him on. We just needed him to get. Congresswoman, how are you?
I'm good. I'm avoiding the rain. I'm calling location, but I'm doing well.
30 seconds.
Girl, I'm trying to figure out the hat I'm going to put on so I can go vote. So I can stuff my hair up under this hat. Okay.
I'm asking myself why I have 5 umbrellas in Washington and none in my house here.
Ooh, girl, you know you better put a plastic bag on your head. Oh my gosh. Stand by. But I've got
10 seconds.
John Nichols, how are you?
Well,
stand by.
And like the Congresswoman, I say happy election day.
Stand by.
In Chicago.
Hold on, we're coming up.
Change the world, change the world. We can change the world, we can change the world, change the world.
This is the Santita Jackson Show.
And hate to a place of love, it's not too late. Gotta save the children, we can't wait. Let's change the world.
Hey everybody, April 4th, 2023, the 55th anniversary of the assassination of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, the 56th anniversary of his anti-Vietnam War speech in which he opposed the military-industrial complex. God rest his soul, but he is with us today as we are voting in Chicago, voting on a new mayor. Will it be the FOP, the Fraternal Order of Police, the police union? Will they triumph over the Chicago Teachers Union? What about what's happening in Wisconsin? That is a race of tremendous consequence. Remember, Wisconsin, by one vote, they were one vote away of sending a false slate of electors to Washington, D.C. to vote on that election. That's what happens when you have a conservative court in a majority Democrat state. So before I get to you, John Nichols, I've got these congresspersons who are with us today who are running, and I know Congresswoman Delia Ramirez is running. Congressman Jonathan Jackson is with us for a little while. And Congresswoman Ramirez, what do you make of this race today?
Santita, this is a symbolic moment for the city of Chicago. 2 things I think about. One, it's been 40 years. And what we can do today is send a message to the entire country that we are ready for authentic leadership that understands what it's like to be working class, that will build a multicultural coalition of all of us, not just some of us. And 2, it's going to take every single one of us. It is a low voter turnout election. We're not seeing many people coming to vote. We're hoping many of them voted early, but we have to turn out our people. People have to come out and vote for hope, not just vote against what's the other side.
Would you get the sense that, where do you see the momentum? Let me just ask you that.
I see the momentum in the young people, in people that I'm talking to have never been involved in a mayoral election. I'm seeing older seniors coming out and talking about how they did their hair. They got all ready because Brandon Johnson and the crew was coming to their senior building or they were coming to the grocery store. I mean, the number of independent political organizations that have come together, I've looked at pictures, right? Every shade of color, every age, every height, every weight. We are all in this together because we see that Brandon is the name on the ballot that brings all of us to the fifth floor. And that Brandon is the embodiment of where we are. And this exciting time after the city has gone through so much pain certainly the last decade.
Congressman Jonathan Jackson, what do you see?
I see the same thing that the Honorable Congresswoman sees, Ms. Dalia Ramirez. I mean, it's an exciting time. I'm very excited for the Brandon, and it's a stand-up for the working class in this city. It has been challenged. It has been under attack. The middle class is being driven out of this city. Look at the rents in New York. They're higher than Chicago. The rents in Los Angeles are higher in Chicago. Their GDP is growing in New York and in Los Angeles, and ours in Chicago is failing and falling further behind. When you look at the economic conditions of the South and the West Side, neighborhoods that used to be so vital to the economic engine of Chicago, all of these vacant lots were tax-paying entities, these properties. People have been being moved out in mass exodus from the working class of our economy in the city of Chicago. It's losing its vibrancy. It just can't be purely for tourists. It also has to have some local residents. So this is a turning point. I'm very excited about the candidacy of Brandon Johnson. He was transparent in showing what his vision was for the city. He's been transparent in showing what the budget is, doing something that is unheard of in an election. You know, telling people what it's going to cost going forward. Those costs are inevitable. So I'm very excited about what this day brings.
But, you know, we were talking about charter schools, because indeed, Congresswoman Ramirez and John Nichols and Congressman Jackson, many in the corporate media have said, okay, this election is turning on law and order. When you go to the black and brown communities, they say, oh, not so fast. Yeah, we're concerned about crime, but we're concerned about education. We don't have access to high-quality education. We're concerned about health care. We're concerned about affordable housing. If I work a wage job, I can't even rent here, let alone buy a house here. And you were saying that you foresee, Congressman Jackson, a wave of closings of charter schools. Can you explain?
Well, the history is there. What you're going to see is almost half of these buildings are underutilized in the school district, and the question becomes, how do you populate them? Remember 10 years ago, Chicago went through something unprecedented, the largest elementary school closing in American history. 50 schools closed at one time. And I tell you, 10 years later, look at the economic condition of each of those neighborhoods. Those school closings were destructive, so much of the vitality in the communities in this city. And what communities were they? Unfortunately, it was along some very racial lines. If it was economic, it's racial and economic. It's clear. So how do you turn this around? You have to be honest with our past. How did we get here? What is the leadership that brought us to this point? And do we want to give them a second chance to have the people fix it that messed us up?
I know you all are calling in. We're going to get you on. We're going to get you in. Congresswoman Ramirez, what do you want us to know? I know that you're running this morning. I'm so glad that you were able to make some time for us today, because there are some people who are running not just for mayor, but we have people who are running for these, who are running as alders. You know, we have alderpersons running, right. And those are big races too. That could shape the city council and will determine what this new mayor will be able to do. What do you see?
Well, there are 20 runoffs around the city of Chicago, right? And a number of people won and beat incumbents, but also won open seats last February. This is a pivotal moment for Chicago. Chicago will never be the same after tonight. And I am all in with Lori Torres running in the 36th Ward, a teacher, a mom on a mission who's always lived in this community, who is now stepping up right there with Brandon Johnson to represent us in city council. Ruth Cruz, who's in the Belmont Cragen, a daughter of immigrants like me, who is running an open seat and saying, this is the moment for all of us to come together. Black, brown, white, Asian. We can do this with a city council that is strong, that's effective, that is competent, and the right person, Brandon Johnson, in the fifth floor.
Congresswoman Ramirez, what do you want us to know before you go?
I want to ask you, if you know someone in Chicago, or if you're in Chicago and you haven't voted, polls are open until 7 p.m. and they cannot, you can vote as long as you're there by 7. If you know 5 people, 6 people, 7 people in Chicago, or that you know that you're here and haven't voted, make those calls, those texts, bring them to the polls. I am hearing that this is going to be one of the closest elections in Chicago history. Every vote counts. Go and vote for Brandon Johnson.
Congresswoman Daley Ramirez in Washington and in Chicago. So proud of you, my, baby sister. That's what she has to be. And how are your parents?
My brother, I love working with Jonathan. with the Honorable Congressman Jonathan. Let me say it right.
Honorable Congresswoman Dahlia Ramirez, I love working with you.
we love her. I promise you, I'm not going to embarrass you anymore when I'm visiting Congress. And when I saw her, I screamed, "Ah!" So glad to see you. I won't do that again. I promise you, I won't embarrass you. I'm sending you much love.
You can do it again.
Sending you much love. Of course, we have got this Wisconsin race, but we've got Chicago. We've got two of these races of tremendous consequence. As we're talking about President Trump today, it seems like that can't be given much more weight than these elections of tremendous consequence. John Nichols.
Well, that's exactly right. Look, President Trump is the past. He will be held to account, one hopes, and that is certainly a story of consequence. But what we have to understand is that the damage he did can be undone today.
Congresswoman and congressmen are off.
Wisconsin, but in Chicago as well. Remember, President Trump is an issue in Chicago. Paul Vallis said during President Trump's impeachment that he thought the impeachment was a witch hunt, that holding Donald Trump to account for his high crimes and misdemeanors was somehow inappropriate. And so electing Brandon Johnson sends a signal as regards accountability for President Trump. And similarly in Wisconsin. In Wisconsin, we have a Supreme Court race, a remarkable race for an open seat. This open seat will decide whether progressives control the state Supreme Court of Wisconsin or whether reactionary conservatives control the state Supreme Court of Wisconsin. The progressive candidate, Janet Protasiewicz, a judge and veteran prosecutor, has made it absolutely clear that she believes in the rule of law and that she believes in free and fair elections that follow the rules of law. Her opponent, former Justice Dan Kelly, worked as a lawyer for the Republican Party and for Republican groups during the period when Donald Trump was trying to overturn the 2020 election. Dan Kelly, we learned from the January 6th committee, advised and worked with those who were trying to develop a slate of fake electors to overturn the results in Wisconsin. The choices in Chicago and Wisconsin could not be more clear. But I don't want to focus just on, the past and accountability for Trump. What's really clear is that if Brandon Johnson wins in Chicago, and if Judge Janet Protasiewicz wins in Wisconsin, the message out of this region in the middle of the country, the place they sometimes call flyover country, is that this is the North Star. This part of our country, Chicago and the state of Wisconsin, are up here saying, look, there's another and better way. Chicago can lead the nation as regards progressive responses to education, to policing, to economic injustice, can be a fundamental change agent for the whole country. Wisconsin can lead the nation as regards justice, justice for women, justice for workers, and the justice that extends from fair maps your voters get to choose who they want to be their representatives in those free and fair elections. The consequences couldn't be higher. The stakes couldn't be higher. This is a remarkable day, but I'll close off just simply by saying it's also a hopeful day because Brandon Johnson is surging in Chicago. The polls, which once had him way down, have closed to effectively a tie. If people turn out today in Chicago, just as they turned out 40 years ago for Harold Washington, they can achieve a transformational victory, a victory that elites, that many of the pundits never expected. Similarly, in Wisconsin, the polls are good. If people turn out today, they can achieve a change that will undo tremendous amounts of the damage done to Wisconsin over the last dozen years since Scott Walker was governor. This is a truly big and hopeful day. And yes, it's going to be a little stormy. There's going to be some rain. There's going to be some thunder. But you know what? If we know our stories of the past, often rain and thunder accompany a miraculous moment.
Amen to that. I mean, and I've got Dr. Ashanta Wyatt from New Orleans. I've got Philadelphia Councilwoman Kendra Brooks. I've got Robert Patillo. Oh, did they leave?
Only Dr. Wyatt.
Dr. Wyatt, are you still with us?
She's not on.
Oh, goodness gracious. Oh, well, I'm going to have them back because we need to have a discussion, I think, about public education. But I think Dwight and Robert Patillo are still with us, yes? And Kevin Lampe?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Why don't you respond to what you've heard, Kevin? You were just in Wisconsin. And Wisconsin's set a lot of records for a lot of things. But they've set a record for the most expensive race of this type in American history. Northwards of $35 million. Some people said it's about $45 million for a seat on the Supreme Court. Kevin, what does that say?
It tells you before Kevin jumps in, can I just add one thing? Just to clarify, we're already at 43 million, and according to the latest count on spending, I have every belief that it will pass 50 million. It will be as expensive as a race for governor or president.
What is
now I turn it back over to Kevin.
Look,
powerful special interests want to buy an election. But I don't think the people are going to let them do so.
Kevin, I'm going to spread this out to the rest of the panel. I mean, because this is, if you don't have a lot of money behind you, you can't make it in politics in the United States. That's insane, Kevin.
It is. It is. Money now is the deciding factor in politics. It's supposed to be the people who are the deciding factor in politics. But I will tell this from my time when I spend in Wisconsin, I'm hearing a lot about Judge Janet and the fact that they will have to get her on the Supreme Court. It'll be a sea change in the way that court will rule. She has an open mind. She is someone who is standing up, and she will tell people what needs to be done. It is so important because issues like the gerrymandering of state rep and state senate districts, how an election is really decided, will be up to the Supreme Court in Wisconsin, and we're seeing attempts all across the world. You see what happened in Israel is where people are trying to change the way our judicial system is done. We need people that are on the judiciary, that are fair, that are open-minded, that don't come in with an agenda. In fact, no, they do come in with an agenda. They come with the agenda of representing the people and to make wise, thoughtful decisions that impact generations instead of coming in there with personal agendas that are just dedicated to the worst possible things in our society.
Dwight McKee, if you do not have money, you cannot participate in this process, or at least have access to it. And I had one guy on the chat line this morning who talked about electing a deadbeat for mayor. I'm like, you know what? Brandon is not a deadbeat. Brandon is struggling to have a wife and 3 kids, and his wife is struggling to support a family just like you and me. I mean, what are you talking about?
Well, service and hard work is a substitute for money. in the political process. Jonathan didn't have money. He had service, and he worked hard and spent 20, 30 years of his life serving people who then would have stamped him to run for office. Didn't forget about it. Now, if you show up on the day of, then you need money because you have no legacy, no track record of having served the people. And so now you have to buy your way to politics and create a life for yourself that never really existed. But money plays a role, but it does not have to be the dominant role if you decide that you want to give your life to public service early in. Your father registered 3 million people to vote with raising money out of a shoebox and out of church basements.
That's
because
true.
He had 30, 40 years of service. So I want people to understand the role that just giving to the people plays over time.
Dwight McKee, I want to thank you for that because someone came up to me, bless their hearts, and people say, people take all kinds of shots, and I get it, but you can't respond to that. And someone said, well, of course, you heard a lot of people say in corporate media and just some folks, well, of course, Jonathan's going to win, look at who his daddy is, look at his mom. I said, my brother took on John Burge by himself, and he was playing a one-string guitar for several years. This man was chilling, as you recall, Kevin Lampy, on police pension in Florida, living well, having violated these boys and men. And no one said anything about it. Not a soul. So, you're right. I mean, money has its place, but if you serve, people don't forget it. Robert Patillo, what do you make of today's election?
Well, I think it's part of this continued balkanization that we're seeing in American politics, where instead of politicians now campaigning on how they can bring people together, how they can work across party lines, how they can create these types of compromises that are needed to get big things done legislatively, both in the city of Chicago and in Wisconsin. This is just a microcosm of what we're seeing nationally. Is more so the blunt force instrument that politics has become. I can make my side stronger so we don't even have to listen to or coordinate with or even acknowledge the other side. And this comes down to as you said, the money in politics that we've seen since the Citizens United case that basically said that now money is speech in America. And because of this, think about what is happening. We're now drowning out the smallest voices in America. I think the Trope bill talked about the tyranny of the majority, and we're now falling clearly into that when it comes to the needs for the least of these in our society. And that's how we end up with these silly arguments when we're talking about public education. When instead of talking about the kids have books, we're talking about do you have a transgender bathroom? Instead of talking about whether or not the kids can read and write, we're asking about drag queen story time. Instead of talking about whether or not we have air conditioning and food for the children, we're discussing what books can we ban. This is nationally, not in Chicago, but nationally, these are discussions that we're having because those are the things that raise the money and bring the attention in instead of the kind of finite issues that aren't as important, such as teacher pay, classroom size, et cetera, that we used to talk about. So we have to retake our political system from the special interest, from the money, from the people who simply see this as a blunt force instrument. And once we're able to do that, then we can actually get back to some hard work and public policy. But in the high-speed reality show culture that we have currently, we're in a race to the bottom as opposed to a race to the top.
We've had a lot going on, John Nichols, over the past few weeks. The further de-dollarization all around the world. Saudi Arabia has joined the BRICS nations. I mean, on and on and on and on. And yet the lead for the news is, are we going to get cameras in the courtroom to see if Trump is going to be charged for something that ran out with the statute of limitations? I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying, look, he was with a Playboy model. What? I mean, I don't care about that. What I care to hear Dr. Ashanta Wyatt talking to me about these are children who are not allowed to speak during lunch in the charter schools of Philadelphia. And these are primarily black kids. But if they were white children, I got a problem with that. What are you doing to our children? You're not helping them. What are you doing to them? So what do you want? What is our takeaway today in these last 2 minutes? Because we've got these two elections of tremendous consequence. What is the takeaway from the Chicago election, from what's happening in Wisconsin?
Well, you're juxtaposing two realities of our moment. One reality is our media, whether we like it or not, which tends to be, kind of lowest common denominator these days. It's whatever story they think is the most fallacious, the one that people will get excited about. And I'm a part of the media. I've been a journalist all my adult life. But this obsessive focus on Trump is something we have to be cautious about. We need to pay attention to it. He needs to be held to account. But we also have to look up from, what's happening in New York or Washington to the whole country. And I feel very blessed to have been able to spend my time in these last few weeks covering the races in Chicago and in Wisconsin. Because the fact of the matter is that politics can give us great sadness and great sorrow, but it can also give us hope. And the fact of the matter is when Jesse Jackson ran for president in 1984 or 1988, that concept of keep hope alive was so very vital. Well, now today, Chicago has the opportunity to keep hope alive and to extend it forward. Wisconsin has the opportunity to keep hope alive and extend it forward. All people have to do is pull on their raincoats, get their umbrellas, head out to the polls, and recognize that they have the clearest of all choices between Brandon Johnson and Paul Vallas. Brandon Johnson offers a future focused on economic and social and racial justice. And in Wisconsin, they have a choice between Janet Protasiewicz and Dan Kelly. And Janet Protasiewicz offers the hope of courts that judge on the basis of justice rather than on the basis of partisan political whims. These are such clear choices. This is such an exciting day, and I believe such a hopeful day.
It is a hopeful day, everybody. Get out and vote. Get out and vote. It's a government of, for, and by you. You're the key here. Get out and vote. Remember, voting is the end of the beginning, not the beginning of the end. April 5th, you still, whether we get who we want tonight, I tell you what, tomorrow you better figure out how to get what you need, which means that no matter who occupies the 5th floor, you better push them because the corporatocracy is already there. And we deserve to enjoy God's bounty. We deserve that. God bless you, everybody. I'll see you tonight on WCPT, of course, with Joan Esposito and Patty Vasquez. Will be hosting wall-to-wall coverage, covering the elections tonight. God bless you, everybody. Love you so much. Is there anything else you'd like to say, John and Robert and Dwight? Starting with you, John.
Yes, I'll just simply say I'm off to cover elections today, and I'm excited.
Where are you?
I think it's going to be. I'm in Wisconsin.
Oh, okay.
But I'll be down in Illinois midday. I'm going to be going about trying to do a number of things.
Are you going to be in Chicago?
I will try to make it that far. That's my hope. I'm trying to kind of move fast, look at a lot of things, check in with polling places. I mean, to me, on Election Day, one of the things that's important to do is to shift the focus a little away from the candidates during the day to the voters themselves and see the people who are showing up, see how turnout's going, making sure that the processes are working. So that's my focus today. Tonight, obviously, we'll be talking a lot about what happened and how it's happening and how it's playing out, doing lots of media and lots of interviews. But at some fundamental level, I think that I would simply say that we're very, very possible today. This is a day when a lot of things can happen, but they will only happen. They will only happen to the good if people turn out. And so we're now beyond the point of arguments from candidates. We're beyond the point of even money in politics as regards TV ads and things like that. We're at that fundamental point, that core point of will people respond to this opportunity? And I'm, like I said in our conversation just a moment ago, I'm excited about it. I think it's a hopeful day. I do believe that it will be undercovered in the national media because of the obsession with Trump. I hate to say it, but that is true.
But why do you think it's going to be? I mean, what is the? Do you think that? Because I think I don't trust the corporate media because they favor the corporate narrative and the corporatocracy. I mean, do they not want people to see the populist spirit that is in the air, and people seizing power?
Yeah. I think they're poor at covering that. They always do a bad job of covering it. Whether they don't want people to see it, or whether they just don't know how to tell the story, those are questions that can be sorted out. But the fact of the matter is, the history is clear that our national media tends to play catch up. It tends to, try to, get to the story after it is already, long after it has occurred, and often it tells that story in poor and inept ways. Our national media, by and large, tends to like to tell a story that is already told, that is over. And so they're very excited about Trump because Trump has been indicted. Now he'll be arrested. And in no way do I want to diminish that story. I don't want people to think I'm saying it isn't important. It is very important. We need to show in this country that even the most powerful people can be held to account. By the same token, we have to have a fuller perspective. We can't just be looking backward to the high crimes and misdemeanors of those who served and were defeated. We have to be looking forward to the great accomplishments that are possible with those who may be elected. And so our job, here in the Midwest, is to shout it from the rooftops, right? To speak as loudly as we can, and I'll certainly do that in what forums I may have, that something big is happening. We don't know at this moment exactly what it is. But what I can tell you is that if Brandon Johnson is elected in Chicago, and if Judge Janet Protasiewicz prevails in Wisconsin, those two victories, both of which are rooted in all of our experiences of this moment, all of our concerns of this moment, can send an incredible signal across the country. They can say that elections still matter, not just to prevent someone bad from getting in office, but potentially to put someone good in office. And by doing so, to actually begin the process of making changes that need to be made. I'm excited for the prospect that Chicago might lead the nation, not play catch up, not, try and imitate what's done someplace else, but that Chicago might lead the nation on criminal justice reform, on education, on economic justice. I mean, just think of that possibility. And I'm excited that my home state of Wisconsin, which has had such hard times in the last dozen years since Scott Walker was governor and attacked labor rights and so many other things, that my state of Wisconsin could have a high court that judges on behalf of the rule of law, fair elections, women's rights, labor rights, immigrant rights. You run down the list. The fact of the matter is that everything comes down to today, and you have that possibility that in two critical elections, we could send a signal to the whole country that it's possible to make fundamental change and to actually not just kind of be stuck in the status quo, but to move forward.
Robert Patillo, what are your thoughts? Is Robert still there? Well, let me ask you, Dwight, you're thinking. I mean, what do you see today? Because, John, I'm hearing you, but on one level, I think that, of course, you got to hold powerful people to account, but don't play a game with me. When you pull up some charge that really sounds very thin. I mean, to me, I'm paying more attention to what happens in Georgia, quite frankly. What's happening there. I mean, look, I'm sorry, a man and his peccadillos, to get out of folks' bedrooms, get off of that, okay? People do all, he didn't want Melania to know. Well, I got that. I don't know too many men who want anybody to know. I don't know. I know not every guy is going to go for Stormy Daniels, but, it is what it is. What's more concerning to me is de-dollarization. What's more concerning to me is all of this money going to Ukraine and the absolute blinders that we've turned to the people of Mississippi and in the South, who've had their towns wiped out, who've had the jobs that they worked in their towns wiped out, and nobody's talking about making it right for them Okay? And how are you going to rebuild these towns? Where's the money going to come from? Silicon Valley Bank, $13.3 billion they got, and it was crypto money. But they got my money. I can't even have that conversation because you want to follow Trump into the courtroom over Stormy Daniels. I mean, for real? Huh?
My thoughts is that little boy Blue can't afford to sleep. Is that because disaster kicks in when you're not? Is the sheep goes to the meadow, the cows go to the corn, the wolves come out at night. I mean, in this world, you have to be ever vigilant because they come at you from every level, every end. And so it's a never-ending process, never-ending battle for truth, justice, and the American way. This thing is so insidious and come at you at so many different kinds of ways that you can't afford to nod in this thing. Because if you nod, it'll get away from you.
It's just a lot. It's a lot. John Nichols, there's a lot going on, and there's a lot at stake right now. And I think what concerns me is our focus, that upon which we're focusing. And, it's...
That's what we're talking about, Cynthia.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about. And look at what we've done on this show just in the last few minutes, and now as we finish up. We have focused on that which matters. And, there are an awful lot of lessons in history and in faith that tell us that at some point you do what you can do, right? And you do what you do best. And I was listening, just a few minutes ago to Congressman Ramirez and talking about her umbrella. She's got 5 umbrellas in Washington. Why doesn't she have one in Chicago? And, the truth of the matter is we're sent into many struggles without all the preparation that we need, right? We don't always have all the advantages or benefits that we would like. Things aren't as easy as we would hope. And yet, when you focus in on what's going on here, we've been together today talking about the possibility of fundamental change. I mean, and that is a pretty big blessing, right? That's a pretty big benefit. We've had many, many times in history where we didn't have that. Where on election day, we were talking about a dismal choice between 2 candidates, both of whom were fundamentally imperfect. Or we've been talking about an election in which we know a bad player is going to win and a good player is going to lose. That's not what this is. This is an election where there is an absolutely clear choice, a stark choice in Wisconsin and in Chicago. And this is an election where there is an honest hope. There is an honest possibility that the better candidate will prevail. Not just a slightly better candidate, but the dramatically better candidate will prevail. And that you will have a different Supreme Court in the state of Wisconsin, one that really does rule on behalf of justice. And that you will have in Chicago a mayor who comes from the people and serves the people in fundamental ways. I mean, I can't even begin to suggest what is possible in Chicago if Brandon Johnson wins. And I know there's lots of people who talk him down and find, something to object to. But the fact is, step back and look at what Brandon Johnson has done in the last 3 months. He went from a marginalized candidate that didn't even get that much attention to now a candidate who is, by all accounts, in a tied race, closing in with a surge of momentum that seems to be on his side, with Bernie Sanders flying in to help him with a rally of 4,000 people, with activists and campaigners out on the streets in every neighborhood and every ward. I mean, it's amazing what has already been accomplished. And if you see that, how can you help but have hope that this day might end with a remarkable result?
Well, I mean, it shows you if we participate, John, what will happen. I mean, we're losing. I mean, Reverend said in 1983, if you don't win, if you run, you might lose. But if you don't run, you're guaranteed to lose. If you vote, you might not get who you want. But if you do vote, I mean, if you don't vote, you're absolutely not going to get what you want, let alone what you need. You got to get out and vote, everybody. You got to vote. And you're going to be disappointed sometimes. That is just the way that it works. You have been disappointed in love, and you haven't given up on that. At least most of us haven't. And there it is. In life, you just keep on living. You're going to get your heart broken. And guess what? It will heal if you allow it, if you let it. But I tell you what, tomorrow is a new day. First of all, let's get through today. But tomorrow is a new day, and we now have to learn politics. John Nichols and Dwight McKee, we have to understand that you got a fight on your hands, no matter who gets in. So you can get what it is that you need, whether or not you get who you want. I want you to vote so you can get who you want, but I do know that even if you get who you want in Brandon Johnson, you're going to have to fight to get what you need. People who are fighting him, they're still there. John and Dwight, they're still there. They're waiting for him at the door. They never leave the 5th floor. They never leave the Oval Office. They never leave Congress. They don't leave because they know where the power is. And guess what? They pay lobbyists. Don't talk about lobbyists like they're the problem. They're not the problem. Lobbyists are hired guns for the corporatocracy. That's what they do. So you need to know who they work for, and you need to deal with them. Go look at these corporations that are hiring folks. Look at them and their agendas. That's what you need to do. It's the Walton family that's helping to fund the Vallis campaign. John Nichols. Little people are funding Brandon Johnson's campaign and unions, right? But it is these big donations from a lot of individuals who are funding the Vallis campaign. I think we need to be clear on that.
Oh, yeah. Betsy DeVos is sending in her money to help him get elected. Former education secretary, supporter of privatization of schools. You know, the wealthiest Republican donors are supporting him directly and indirectly in Chicago. I mean, the clarity is there. Look, this is not a complicated thing. And all I'll tell you is, you're right. There'll be people waiting at the door. There always are, and there'll be pressure inside and outside. But I keep going back to that Harold Washington example. Harold Washington won in 3. Most of power did not want him to win. They tried everything they could to stop him. They ran around claiming, vote for his opponent, quote unquote, before it's too late.
When someone who was in the psych ward the night of the election. That's not funny, y'all. That was so sad. When I heard that he was in the psych ward, because it was very clear Mr. Epton was troubled, that he was mentally ill when he was running. But the fear of getting not just a black man, but of getting a populist in office it was so great that they would have voted for a man who was clinically insane. I mean, you can't make this stuff up, John.
83 was an epic and an incredible race.
Yeah.
And Harold Washington, and my point is, he didn't just win. He took charge of that office. He came to lead the city. He came to be beloved. He passed far too soon. But now we have a great life to walk into and honor his name in the center of the city. And what we recognize is he left now that legacy, unfortunately, has not always been dominant. It has often been undermined, been weakened. It has diminished over the last 40 years at times. But this year, this election, this day, April 4th, the anniversary of Dr. King's assassination, April 4th, there is the possibility for a renewal of that remarkable legacy. And I when I think about it, I think this is why I cover politics. This is why I write about politics, because I'm not interested in the dismal moments. I'm not interested in the moments where everything falls apart. I'm interested in those moments where we enter new periods where something and good begins to unfold. And I haven't always been around for it. I wasn't there in 1932 when Franklin Roosevelt got elected. But I have seen it a few times. And when I saw it in 1983, when I was young, I was very inspired by it. I think one of the reasons I still write about politics and cover it is because I've seen people power prevail. Once you've seen it, it never goes away from you. You know it. And so we're on what I would identify as somebody who's covered politics for the better part of, too many years. What I would say, I'm pretty good at identifying a possible day, a hopeful day. And that's what this is. And we could keep talking forever. But I guess the most important thing we ought to say is, let's stop talking and let's go start voting.
Dwight McKee, you have anything you want to underscore or add before we go?
Not at all. Everybody get out and vote. Fight the good fight.
Fight the good fight. Everybody share everything today. John, what you writing about this week in the nation?
I've got a piece up today about the Chicago race.
Yes.
And on how Trump is playing in the Chicago race, and this revelation that Paul Vallas said that Trump's impeachment was a witch hunt, and how maybe that some people might notice that, and also some of the other issues in the race. And then I can tell you exactly what I'll be writing about tomorrow.
Okay.
Write about Wisconsin.
Well, you know what? Let me know if you're available tomorrow at all, because we need to unpack tomorrow, and I'm very, very interested in what's happening in Wisconsin, because it's mentioned that this is a race of tremendous consequence. I don't know if we fully understand it, because now we're caught up in the soap opera of Trump and New York and what's going to happen there, and I don't want us to miss that.
We won't. And look, we'll be unpacking. If the results are good, Chicago and Wisconsin, I suspect we'll be unpacking it Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. We'll probably take a break for. But my suspicion is that this will be something. It is possible that great stories will begin to unfold today, and stories that will ultimately matter more than a lot of the stories out of Washington or New York.
Well, we will see. Everybody get out and vote. I'm going to get off of here because I'm going to go and vote now. Ooh. Typically, I vote early. This time I did not. Oh, gosh. But I am going to go on up the street and vote, and I'm very excited to be able to do it. I'm going to be very, very excited to be able to do it. So everybody get out and vote today. I'll see you tonight starting at 6:45 p.m. here on WCPT. I will be with Joan Esposito and then Patty Vasquez, and then Joan and Patty Vasquez will take over for the final hour of their coverage of the election. You don't want to miss it, everybody. Janet, Al Morningstar, send Janet Sherwood Sussman some love. Send her some love today. Thank you, Norma Jean. Send her some love. She is dealing with some health challenges, but we do know God is the ultimate healer, and you are already healed. Praise the Lord. Everybody send Janet Sherwood Sussman, one of our morning stars, send her some love, send her your prayers right away. I'm going to leave the lines open so you all can do that. Please, please, please. Thank you, Laura. You said you love the shows and the guests. Oh, there you go. And John Nichols and Dwight and the whole crew. I know you do. I know. That's why you're there, everybody. Please give Janet some love, everybody. Give her some love. She needs those prayers today. We all need prayers. What did the great Stevie Wonder say? Love's in need of love today. Just spread some love. You know, the head of the FOP said, there'll be blood in some streets. Why don't we put some love in the streets? That's novel. Let's do that. Dr. King wrote a book entitled The Strength to Love. That is what takes true strength. Loving. Hating is easy. It's easy. You don't have to flex anything, like frowning. Please. Come on now. Let's grow up, everybody. Let's grow up in our politics and grow up in how we treat each other and how we think of each other. Get on the other side of what you think about someone, let alone what you say about someone or to them. If you get on the other side of what you accuse someone of being, what you call someone, what you think of someone, it will change your thoughts. Our pastor, Reverend Clay Evans, Dwight, as you recall, used to begin, if you went to him just to talk, he would begin every conversation, John, with prayer. So if you were going for counseling, if you were really angry about something, it changed the whole tone of your discussion. It reshaped it because he started with prayer and he would end with prayer. And we've got to do that. We've got to enter into things prayerfully. Let's put some blood. No, not blood in the streets. Let's put some love in the streets. Do that. Put love in the streets. First of all, put it in your heart. Put a little love in your heart. That's a wonderful song, Dwight. And the world will be a better place for you and me. Just wait and you'll see. Put a little love in your heart. I love you, everybody. I love you. Love you, Janet. Hang on in there, girl. Love you, Norma Jean and Brenda and everybody. That's right. She needed some love today, and thank you for passing it out to her. She needs it. She needs it, and we all do. And love yourself. And when you love yourself, you're going to love somebody else. I promise you. Love you, John. I love you, Dwight. Love everybody. Alex, thank you for a great show. It was a tough show today. And he said, I feel so bad. You know, so much went wrong. I said, I'm so thrilled that everything went crazy today because this is how you learn. So I'm happy. Happy for you because you learned a lot today. You're an even better engineer today. Love you, everybody. God bless you. God bless you. I'll see you tonight on all kinds of media, but my home, of course, here's WCPT 820 here in Chicago. Love you, everybody. God bless. Bye-bye. Thank you, Dwight. Thank